see, because I've been racking my brain trying to remember the first time I ever met Candy Crowley. Was it on a rainy tarmac trying to wait for a candidate who probably was never going to be president? Was it on a press bus heading for an event to listen to a speech we had heard precisely 100 times before? Was it in a dreary filing center in the basement of some convention center somewhere while we were covering a debate? I'm not certain when it was, but I am certain that the circumstances were dreary, and I am certain that Candy lit up the room. She lit it up with her humor, with her focus, and let's face it, with her gift for being kind of a smart mouth. We would cover the same story side by side. We would crack wise as reporters do, and then reality would come into view. I would get to see what she produced on the air, and her stuff was always more insightful, always better written, and always better at cutting through the political clutter than anything any of the rest of us were able to produce. She is simply the best, the most insightful writer and analyst in the news business. You're about to watch, in a moment, from the video, a moment on CNN when Candy covered the release of the Starr report during the impeachment of President Clinton. That I remember clearly, not least because Candy, Linda Douglas, then at ABC, and I, then at NBC, were the three women on Capitol Hill who had to do the live shots as the report was released. We sat separately in our tiny little booths, talking to live cameras, reading aloud the most incredibly filthy things. I won't repeat now what we were forced to say that day, but you will have to trust me that it was about very important matters of state. In short, Candy is many things, but here is some of what you will not see in her official bio. Candy once had a cat named Baghdad, and she was talked out of naming a second one Kuwait. She once told Rachel Ray that she won the vegetarian division of the CNN chili cook-off, who knew there was such a thing, 2 years in a row, and if you don't believe me, you can find the recipe posted on Rachel Ray's website. She is a mother of 2 sons she loves more than anything, and she clearly used her powers of persuasion to convince them to follow in her footsteps, for one is a brain surgeon and the other plays in a rock band. She appears meth back in a music video for a song called Meatball Love Tone. Seriously, that is love for one's son. She has a grandson and she has a granddaughter on the way. She likes to fact check debaters in real time. And she is an amazing role model, friend, mentor. Dana Bash told me today that she once called her up and said, let's have coffee, because she just watched Oprah and she said you really should watch out for other women. For those of us who have been recipients of her generosity, insight, and humor know it didn't really take Oprah to tell her this. She knew this instinctively. Let's go to the video.
Recently I met 5 newcomers to the press corps, but only 3 of them are here tonight. And when I met them, I told them that this is the first press conference that I knew they were here, that I was going to call on them if they had a question. Candy, do you have a question?
I'm going to turn that down. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, put me on. Gore has retracted his concession.
Let's go to Candy Crowley right now in Austin.
Judy, something to report to you here in this very unusual night. The Vice President has recalled the governor and retracted his concession.
Candy Crowley.
It's good to see you.
Welcome. Welcome to the program.
How many days have you had when you thought, did I actually want this job?
I'd be hard pressed to find a big difference between what I've done over the last week and what John McCain has been doing since he won the nomination.
Just you got more attention.
I did.
Candy Crowley continues to look at the internet, and she has more information in the Starr report. The next category is going to be the gifts from the president to Monica Lewinsky and vice versa. Candy, after you do that, I have a political question for you.
Politics after this, I'll tell you.
a different kind of campaign from a woman should have been at Democratic Party headquarters in Des Moines.
When you are attacked, you have to deck your opponent.
She is woman, hear them roar.
At 77, Robert Byrd is running for his 7th term in the Senate. And that's pretty much all you need to know about that race. It's not that nobody else is running, it's that nobody else will win.
Central Casting could not have found a better candidate. The non-smoking, non-drinking, voter-friendly Mitt Romney and family versus the hard-living Ted Kennedy, who has walked the wild side. While Kennedy lumbers down the political trail, Romney sprints.
I know she made a 911 call at 9:02:07.
It's all that David Vincent knows about what happened to his eldest daughter. It's enough to hang hope on. 9:02:07, he tells it to everyone he talks to. He clings to it for dear life, because of course it is.
Beginning next Sunday, Candy Crowley will have the privilege and the pleasure of leading our Sunday conversation. Welcome. You ready for the 4 a.m. wake-up call?
No. Good morning and Happy New Year from Iowa. Suppose they threw a party and a hurricane came. Just the fear of that has already postponed this party for a day. The candidate of hope and change returns as president after 4 years of rough and tumble.
Who's the tougher debater? I think both are excellent in their own way. I think you could argue that Mitt has had a lot more recent experience, obviously, but also Candy. Part of it depends on who's moderating. I don't want to put any pressure on you.
Good evening from Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. I'm Candy Crowley from CNN State of the Union. We are here for the second presidential debate at Town Hall, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney.
From one controversial debate moderator to another, the 2013 Award to Miss Candy Crowley.
Thank you all very much for that. We've been having a discussion about men and women in the workplace lately off the new book from a woman from Google, and I remarked that I've often said that when men bond, they get jobs, and when women bond, they get therapy. And so I'd like to, first of all, thank my chief therapist, when I fall, for everything, for coming here tonight and for introducing me. You know, everybody knows here that you don't do television alone. It's just, even if you wanted to, and sometimes you do, there's just a host of people behind you, so I need to thank as well the putter together of that video, Michael Zelli, my longtime senior producer. So as we call State of the Union staff, who is always there even when I'm not, putting together a show. My colleagues, my friends, I thank you for everything that you do for me at work, but I especially thank you for always having my back. That is worth a lot, and I appreciate your being here tonight and for having my back at so many times. Congratulations to the fellow award winners, Lloyd, Robert, Gabriel. I was listening to him, and I had to confess to him that Twitter scares the heck out of me. I like it, I love it, I love things people say on it, but I look at that little box, and all I can see is a little message to myself: Candy, you are 140 characters away from getting fired. Not easy with it. But I promised him I'd try. He also, you know, Twitter wants to change got into the business because they wanted to change the world. And I got into it because I wanted to feed my kids. Which is so I came to love and to embrace and to so respect the First Amendment. as I grew in this business. It takes my breath away to know the sorts of things that we as a news business are capable of conveying to the American people. I look at a man like Mr. Vincent, the man who had lost his daughter in 9/11, and how much he changed me. I mean, the freedom of the press is something I sort of always took for granted, and I think we do day to day. It's not like you get up and go, hey, let's recite the First Amendment. It's just a part of you. And I am an incredibly lucky girl to be working where I work, living where I live, and having forefathers, as we say, that had the wisdom to give us such an incredible amendment. I have to tell you a quick story. When my sons were growing up, I used to tell them things, and they'd look at me as elementary school and say, well, you're not the boss of me, and you can't say that. And I would say, I can say that, because it's in the Constitution. I am doubly protected in the Constitution, because I have both freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And I'm a member of the press, and I have freedom of speech. I barely see them in high school, so. And one day my youngest son looked at me and he said, and I have freedom not to listen. Which is not written in the Constitution, but they thought it was. And I often think of freedom not to listen with some of my guests on Sunday. But this way's written in the freedom not to listen. My aforementioned producer also got some cards one time that were business size, complete business cards, and it just had 2 words on it: to stop talking. And I always wanted to have those to sort of shove across the table sometimes with the guests and say, like, enough. So, but freedom of speech, I believe in it, and sometimes I believe in the freedom not to listen. But it has been, I remember when I went to NBC, I'm an NBC alumni, there was a guy there named Ken Bokey, who was just an amazing reporter, and had gone from print to television. And he came down one day to see me. It was my first job in television, because I did the AP. And he said to me, Candy, here's the thing about television, and that is when you take pictures and words and they go together, there is nothing more powerful on earth. And I think he was right, because when the 2 go together and you write something that tells somebody's story, because in effect, that's what we're doing, is telling people's stories, and looking at people's stories. When you do that, there is nothing more powerful, and then you sort of begin to appreciate the awesomeness of this responsibility, because freedoms come, as we all know, with responsibilities, and it is what made me fall in love with the First Amendment and fall in love with journalism. And I have especially learned in the past several years, when you do a show like this, that you have to love freedom of speech and freedom of the press and freedom of Twitter, even when you don't like what they're saying, because that is how we change the world. One tweet at a time, one TV piece at a time, and it is why I am so humbled and awed that I'm getting this particular award tonight. It means a tremendous amount to me. Every once in a while in life, I've found that sometimes the perfect thing comes along at the perfect time. This award for me is the perfect thing at the perfect time. I thank the RTDNF for this. I thank you all for coming tonight. I hope that I sort of carry with this award. In fact, it made me go back and look at the First Amendment, believe it or not. I thought I should, refresh my 6th grade class or whatever it was. And, I mean, what's in it. I think I could have answered the 5 before I reread it, but I definitely could tonight. And I thought, this is actually worth reading maybe once a month. I can kind of see myself doing that, because the hashtag awesomeness of the First Amendment is pretty amazing. So thank you all. Again, thank you, RTDNF. I appreciate it.